Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar regarding how you get control of your license usage and reduce cost. My name is Niklas and I have my colleague Jeremy joining this session.
Hello.
So a short about the agenda. I will start to talk about cost savings, different options you have with our software to save costs and time using CQ Flex One. And then Jeremy will continue with showing some results that you could get out of the software. And then we will have some questions, if any, and then we end this webinar in 1:30. So why CQ Flex One? Yeah, if you want to take control of your design software, see who is using what to what extent, to be able to reduce cost, reduce compliance risk, and save time maintaining your design software. That's the main goal. Most companies, they want to be in control of their cost and also be able to take well-informed decisions when they need to do something. Hire people, get rid of people, renew licenses, and then you want to take a decision not based on guesses. You want to take decisions on facts. And also the software that are normally used at design departments, they are like CAD, CAM, PDM, PLM, finite element program. They are expensive. So having the right number of licenses to the right number of users could save a lot of money. So by having knowledge, you could take the right decisions. And one big thing is when you should renew licenses. That's a good opportunity to really go through. Have you users for all your licenses that you have bought? And it could be if you have network licenses or single user licenses or cloud licenses or the sign-in licenses. It's always a good time when you do renewal to really check who is using the licenses. Do you have too many? How is the user pattern? Have you heavy users? Have you low frequent users? And how many unique users are you? And the peak level, if you have network license, that's a very nice data to have when you do renewals. And also during the year, you could get information of that you could reduce licenses in advance. You're prepared when you do renewals. Or also you could have information that you need to increase the number of licenses. That might not be a cost, but it could be a cost for the company or the business if you have too few licenses that you have your users can't deal with their tasks. And also a lot of companies, especially if you're talking about Autodesk software, they might have the wrong mix of licenses due to historical things that you have too few 2D software, too few 3D software. And that's also something that you could handle with a renewal. And with CQ Flex, when you get the full picture of who is what your users are using and what you should have had. And then you could correct that also and save cost. And also if you have the network license and move to some other license model, you could have had the pattern that everyone could get a license because it's easy and free. If you have a network license, you could share a lot of users within the smaller license amount. But when you need to consolidate and go to some sign-in model, you need to take care of the unique users. And then it's easy to see patterns of high frequent users, low frequent users. And low frequent users, they might be low frequent because they are not designers, they might be consumers of drawing. And then there could be an option to replace or not buy a license to them and have a free viewer instead. So that's something that you could easily spot in the information from CQ Flexmon. And also mainly for larger customer or customer groups that had different kind of licenses bought in different departments or companies, is to consolidate licenses. And it's very easy to figure out how much you could save by consolidate by doing analysis yourself or by help in CQ Flexmon. And also a cost that not many are aware of, if they not have been hit by an audit from any vendor like Autodesk, Adobe, Microsoft, is compliance cost. That's normally a cost you don't taking care of, but it's a hidden cost that could hit you. And CQ Flexmon could help you visualize if you have any compliance risk to take that risk down, and so you're aware of it. And compliance cost will always occur. So that's a good thing to really look into. And also what we see now is a trend where a lot of vendors are moving from concurrent licenses, network licenses, to user licenses, like sign-in licenses. A lot of vendors are doing. And in the business we are working, our partner or your partner, Autodesk, has done that recently. And Autodesk also offer a new license model, Flex Tokens, that is very cost efficient if you have low frequent users, and combine them with subscriptions. But this hybrid solution needs administration. That will also be a cost some way. And it will also be a cost if you don't administrate and burn tokens instead of having tokens on the right people. And people change user behavior during time. So that's also a cost saving opportunity with CQ Flexmon. That CQ Flexmon, do the analysis, gives you insights who should be administrated, and at very low admin cost. And also, when you have a hybrid solution, it's also important to take care of when is it time to buy or add a new subscription if you start to burn too many tokens. So also cost savings with renewals, or whenever it could be more efficient with the subscription license. And also one thing that is more and more important for all of us is reporting to different stakeholders like managers or management, what's going on high level and low level, to follow up. So if something happens, we could see it and also have all the numbers clear and visible. So that is also something that is very easy, not time consuming, meaning you save could save a lot of money by letting CQ Flexmon creating those reports. And then small or larger business, there are costs related to the software. And then if you have consolidate, or you just want to do some kind of cost sharing, cost allocation, so the right user, the right department, the right cost center takes their own cost for the software they are using. So it's also very easy to set it up in CQ Flexmon and have monthly or quarterly or yearly reports with the distribution of cost per cost center, department, or per individual. CQ Flexmon connects to the Active Directory, so there's a lot of opportunities to combine the data. So that was some of the examples of what cost savings you could do. There's probably a lot more you can. Then some examples of CQ Flexmon customer. We have different kind of customers, from larger ones. So in the top left corner, we have companies that has users that are being monitored by CQ Flexmon in the range 10 to 15,000 users, and more than 40-50 vendors, where Autodesk is one vendor, Adobe is one vendor. And if you go down to the lower right corner, yeah, we have customers with 30, 40, 50 users, and maybe only one vendor like Autodesk, because they have traded in the nice network licenses to a sign-in model and just want to make it easy with the administration. So CQ Flexmon is scalable to fit the needs of, yes, from small to large businesses. And the thing is, every one of those want to have the possibility to save money by easy admin, or doing the right thing when they take some actions regarding the licenses. So now I will let my colleague Jeremy go through some slides and talk about more what you could get out in detail.
Thank you, Nicholas. Okay, hello everyone. So I've just messaged everyone in the chat. So if you've got any questions on anything that you can see you want to ask, please just place them in the chat box and we will go over those at the end. So yeah, quick bit more about CQ Flexmon, what can be monitored. Okay, so what we've got here is CQ Flexmon was originally created really to monitor network licenses, and that's a variety of different vendors. So we can see here that the license managers that we can poll using CQ Flexmon are FlexNet. You know, that's quite a common one. Autodesk used FlexNet licenses for a long time, and there's a lot of other vendors that do still use FlexNet. So we see quite common, we're still using CQ Flexmon for FlexNet licenses, CodeMeter, Sentinel HASP, and RMS. And a lot of vendors move across to different license managers. So CQ Flexmon polls those license managers on a regular basis, and then we can start to report on those information. And I'll show you some slides based on that. So on the left here, we can see different vendors that we can see that we've been monitoring. So Autodesk, and you'll probably recognize some of these names. On the right-hand side, this is where we're starting to monitor it in a slightly different way, because CQ Flexmon can monitor license managers, but it can also monitor executable files. So that opens it up to a big range of software that we can actually monitor, like Adobe. So you have to assign an Adobe license in the portal, but who's using that software? You can't get those types of statistics from the vendor, and a lot of vendors don't give you those statistics, which is exactly where CQ Flexmon can come in, because we can then start to monitor Adobe, Bentley, SketchUp, loads of different software, Microsoft. So a couple of people, you know, they have Visio licenses and project licenses. We can monitor the use of those because they're an added cost to your subscription. So what we want to do is just make sure that people are using the software that has been assigned to them. If they're not using it, we want to reduce the license count and try to get all of your license subscriptions as optimized as possible. So what we can see here on this slide is basically we have been monitoring an Autodesk Flex server, okay, and we can start to report. We normally poll the servers every 10 minutes, okay, so the servers will get polled every 10 minutes. It collects the current license information, how many you've got, how many are available, and then we can start to report on it. So this is a report based on every hour. So we've got 100 licenses available, and at that time in the morning, early hours of the morning, we've got a lot of licenses, okay, because there's only 2 maximum peaks, but then it obviously hits a peak. So that's the type of reporting we can give you based on any license manager that we are polling. What it then shows, we can then show that in graph form, okay? So we can see your license limit, we can see your peaks, we can see the weekends, okay? So that's where we can really see the information. Do you really need 100 licenses? If you had 200 licenses, but your peak was only ever 100, that's very easy for us to spot and very easy for us to start to have a little look and see if we can reduce those subscriptions down accordingly to try and help you save cost and just make sure they're as optimized as possible. We also show it in like a heat map form, okay? So what this does is this shows that across that period of time we've done a report on, we can show those peaks, we can show the time of day that people are working, obviously during the day. We can see also that we've got some licenses still in use across the weekend, okay? So that's quite key. That could be a variety of reasons. People still work, people do use software across, or they set software to be rendered or carry on. But it's nice to see actually 5% of the license count there is in use, okay, on that Saturday. So it could be people are leaving software open, and sometimes with the vendors there's technology that we can do to reclaim those licenses back due to inactivity. If that's not set, then people can leave software open and it will use the licenses quite a lot. So this one is actually license monitor previous is where we're looking at numbers, but this is the people that have used that software. So what we do here is we're looking at the software. We can see that we've picked up the username, like Nicholas mentioned. We talk to Active Directory and we get the display name, we get the department, company, etc., country. This really helps us to find out who's using what software, for how long, but also what software. So this is really key to find out exactly what pieces of software out of an AEC collection suite that your users are actually using. Then we take a lot of the information into Excel based on templates. A lot of the information goes into Excel, and then we can slice that information up dependent on how you want to see it. So what this one shows is basically the average, unique users across that period of time, okay, of AutoCAD 2020. So we've seen a lot of unique users. So, it's obviously a high use product. You can really start to see and make use of these tools, CQ FlexMon, to really cut down on those licenses if you can. You may have the right number, but a lot of people just do not know the number that they actually have of their licenses, but more importantly, the usage of those licenses. This is where we're monitoring Adobe software. So Adobe is not a non-license manager based product, and you can't get statistics. So that's why we help our customers with this. So again, we produce the same information. So there's an agent running on every single device, and we monitor the use of Adobe software. Okay, then what we do is we analyze the data that's come in, and we can start to show how many times people have used InDesign or Photoshop. This user, for instance, has only ever used Adobe Acrobat Pro DC. If they've got a Creative Cloud Adobe license, that could be a cost saving there. If you always see them only using one piece of software out of a suite, it could be beneficial for you to reduce your subscriptions of the suites and actually start to buy individual products. This shows the same information I just showed you, but in a bit more of a graphical form. So we've got usernames and software. This shows that basically an overall picture across that month of reporting. We could do a 2-month report, 3-month report, however you want to see that data. But it's heavy users at the top, okay? So these are heavy users. You can see that they're using the full suite of Adobe there. At the bottom of this chart, there would be very, very light users, and they are the ones that you really need to focus on to see if you can get your costs down in terms of your subscriptions. This shows that they've used 4 pieces of software on that day. They're the 4 pieces of software that we can see. This shows the unique users, so this is quite key as well. So this shows that in that reporting period, we've got 132 unique users of the software. Okay, so that gives us a good idea of a number of licenses that we potentially need of InDesign. We then can break it down into version, so we can see that people are still using InDesign CC 2020. Let's get them installed onto the latest version, because that could be a compliancy issue there. Nicholas mentioned about SAM compliance. So we have a SAM compliance module, so we can scan the devices and we can pick up this type of information. So PC name, family, serial number, very important, and also the license type. Okay, so Autodesk will want to come in and do an audit, and they will want to look at this type of information. Okay, so we can help our customers with Autodesk software before Autodesk come in to have a little look at this type of information and recommend, you know, we need to uninstall network license software, remove this software here, get the educational software uninstalled, etc. Manage Autodesk, so that's a key one for us. We've got this new module where we pull down the usage information and we start to look at Flex tokens. Okay, so this customer has got Flex tokens and we report on that. We can see that they've got used the product 4 times and they've consumed 21 tokens. Okay, this user has an AEC license assigned in the portal, but in the month of February they've not used the software, so that's a waste of a license in that sense, because you've got users consuming the tokens and you've got licenses that are not in use. We also show the products. So if they've got an AEC collection license assigned, these are the products they've used. Okay. We also give you an anticipated value of tokens. So they haven't consumed any Flex tokens at any cost. However, we anticipate that value to make it easier for the customer to work out if they need a paid license or actually could they do Flex tokens. Okay. So that's how we see that information. What this spreadsheet does here is this starts to show this information in a different way. So again, we have got Flex tokens, okay? We can see the usage. So again, we've got a heat map, a very overall visual picture of a heat map. So this is how we start to look at the information. We can start to see that this user has consumed 10 tokens on that day, 10 tokens on that day, and then they've gone to a paid license because it's got no particular Flex tokens in there. We can focus on AEC licenses to get their usage. Okay, so this user has used it once there and once there. They could be a Flex token candidate user, an infrequent user, because if they're using it twice in a month and you project that to a whole year, that is exactly the type of information we want to see to try and help you get your licenses down as optimized as possible. We can also look at Flex tokens. Okay, so these are Flex token users. We can also see that they've got some heavy users here. Okay, so this user, heavy user. And what we also do is we give you an insight. So on this tab, these are the users that they're on currently on Flex tokens, but we think they're actually consuming too many Flex tokens at a cost. If they carry on burning tokens at that rate, it will be better off and more cost effective for you to give them a paid license. So it's not just about CQ Flexible, it's not just about the data, it's about helping you. Okay, and we try and make this as easy as possible to, if you're on Flex tokens, can they be assigned an AEC license because they've used AutoCAD and Revit, for instance? If they've only ever used AutoCAD out of the AEC suite or Flex tokens, we can actually say that you need to assign them an AutoCAD license there. Okay. Other information we've got, okay, so we've got the date of last use, so we can see that that user is in use, but they've not used it for quite a while. So we start to flag that in red, okay, in all of this information. Again, all of these can be selected. We can see that we've got 2 people or 3 people that have been invited, okay, and they've got license assigned, but they've not used the license because they can't use the license because they've not carried on with the assign, you know, they've not actually carried on with the invite. So that's quite key. We do see that quite often where people have been invited and have an AEC collection license assigned. So it's a waste of a license. We can also see Flex token users assigned but not used. Okay, so if we look at assigned but not used, again, this is an AutoCAD license that's been assigned and not used. AEC assigned and not used. There's quite a lot of cost here tied up into a license that people haven't used. Okay, so it's really all about us helping you with that. We also show assignment status in here. Okay, so we've got 222 AEC collection licenses. we can see that 215 are in use, 14 are inactive, and 3 are available. If you've got Flex tokens, you would want to make these give these licenses to the highest people that are using Flex tokens. You would then want to go on to these 4 users. If they're inactive, let's give those to Flex tokens, and keep your Flex tokens for the very, very infrequent users. Okay, so it's all about looking at the information and us helping you with the Flex proposed action tab, status page, and Nicholas is working doing analysis of all of the licenses to do with Autodesk. He can come back and actually we can present back some recommendations of exactly what you want to do. Next tab really is, again, it highlights all of the same type of information, assigned but not used. So it's quite key for us to see this type of information in this and really start to go in depth of what people are using, because once you look at an AEC collection license, there's so much software out there. We also can start to report on BIM Collaborate licenses as well. So we pull down the usage statistics from Autodesk, and then we start to look at the information. And again, you can start to spot of whether you've got any savings, because it can be very, very difficult inside the portals of any particular software. You know, some vendors do not want to give you a massive amount of information in terms of your usage, because you might actually be able to save some licenses, but that's exactly what we want people to use CQ FlexMon for. Okay, so that's really the end of the webinar in terms of the slides. So it's really just, if there's any questions, if you could put them into the chat. Nicholas, have we got any questions coming in?
Let's see. Is it possible to track what commands a user runs in AutoCAD to see if they are making edits or doing edits, or just viewing and then not saving when they are done? So I guess this is regarding figure out if you need a view license or not. So no, it's not possible to see what the user is doing the command wise, but you could see a user pattern with this heat maps where you could see low frequency users, high frequency users, and if you're high frequent, you are probably using it. But if you use the software 2-3 times per month, maybe you're not really designing. So you have the information of who to track down to and ask if they're really consuming drawings or editing drawings. One question: what does it cost? What does CQ FlexMon cost? It's if you go to the list with examples, so the smallest customer is roughly from €3,000 and upwards, depending on which modules you're using, how many users you're monitoring, how many vendors. So it's scalable, but it's in the lightest version, it costs slightly the same as a new Revit or a AEC collection. So if you could save one AEC collection, you're home. So it's not that costly. And if you want to know more, it's easier to have a chat with us, and we could go through your environment and give you a nice price or the correct price.
Yeah, I can see another question actually, Nicholas. Can we monitor BIM 360 license usage? So yes, we can actually. We can monitor those licenses. So Autodesk have now got the usage statistics in the portal, so we pull that down. So exactly the same slide as what you just saw for the Manage Autodesk module, we can pull down the BIM 360 usage, BIM Collaborate Pro usage, and populate the same thing as well. We've got another one. What benefit does CQ FlexMon give that Autodesk's usage report doesn't? Okay, so a lot of the Autodesk report information is quite sort of generic as such. We go into a bit more detail. We also make recommendations like the Flex proposed actions. So we help the customers, that report that you would have seen. A lot of customers get that report quite regularly. And if they're on Flex tokens, you know, I've seen several times customers with Flex tokens assigned licenses and not monitoring it properly, and then their Flex tokens run out. So our tab of that Flex proposed actions will come back through, and people will actually start to look at that and say, they're a high consumer of Flex tokens, I'm going to move them to a paid license, and the low AEC usage will go on to Flex tokens. So that's exactly why we do a bit more in-depth information. We also do an analysis. Nicholas does a lot of analysis work. So it's not just about the data, it's about the data collecting and what we can produce. So a lot of our customers use Nicholas's services to analyze the information and come back with a proper cost analysis of your licenses and your projected licenses based on the history.
Yeah, and we also connect to the Active Directory. So that's something that Autodesk don't do. And we do it automatically downloading and automatically preparing the reports and the insights. So if you're a few users, I do believe Autodesk page will work, but if you're more than 20 users, it gets quite slow to go by page by page. You need to do a lot of search.
Yeah. We've got another one. Can you monitor plugins used? Okay, so we can obviously monitor Navigate because it's our product. We can monitor a plugin if it fires off an executable file, because the application usage module fires off reports on executable usage. So if it's a DLL or something involved in a product, we can't currently monitor plugins that are like DLLs. So if you click on a menu within AutoCAD or Revit, for instance, and it does actually kick off an executable file, we can actually monitor those types of plugins. So Enscape, if it's a version of Enscape that actually is an installed application on the device, we can monitor that type of plugin.
Yeah, and also in the question, it's Navigate. Navigate is a symmetry product. So Navigate is a cloud-based license in newer version and a FlexNet in older version. And the cloud-based plugins like Navigate architecture for Revit, that is visible in CQ Flexmon.
Yeah, perfect. Next one. Sorry. Yes, the meeting is recorded, actually. The meeting is recorded and it will be available for you after. You will get an email basically sent with a recording for the license with this actual recording. Next one, did you say that you can log all applications? Yes, we can. We can monitor executable files. So it's regardless if it's a license manager based product or not. It could be, we could monitor Notepad. We can monitor Excel.exe. You can monitor a free piece of software, however you want to do it. Obviously, the whole point of CQ Flexmon is to try and help with your analysis and your cost savings. So, you know, if it's a paid subscription license like Adobe, SketchUp, we can monitor that. But yes, we can monitor executable files, because if you fire up a piece of software, it will go into Task Manager as an executable file. We flag the start time, we flag the end time, and that's how we give you your statistics for that.
Yeah, the one question, if DLL plugins will be available in the future. So we have it in our specifications because we have a lot of questions, but I can't tell when we could have time to implement it. But that's in the to-do list.
And we've got, are there any restrictions on monitoring other application usage? No, not really. I mean, it's like I mentioned on the executable usage, if it's installed on a desktop, it's Windows based only. So we run an agent. If it does run an executable file, we can monitor it. Now, sometimes we look into it a bit more deeper. So for instance, some executables, when you double click on a shortcut on the desktop, it runs an executable. That can actually spur off another executable or executables. But once we've seen the software and looked at it, because obviously when we set it up and configure it for our customers, we come onto the system and we also help set it up. So we configure it, we monitor it, and then we almost make sure that, yes, we can actually see this information coming into the database correctly. Therefore, that's it. So there's not normally any issues with monitoring executable files.
Yeah, so it depends on how the vendor has implemented their software, but we don't have any limitation, and there's no limitation in the software. It's more like a commercial. So if you're monitoring 2 vendors with executables, it's cheaper than if you monitor 30 vendors. So but technically it's no issue. The last question, because we are over time, cost model for CQ Flexmon. So CQ Flexmon is software as a service. You pay for the software normally 1 year ahead. And if you want to continue, you just continue. If you don't want to continue, you just stop paying for it and stop using it. And normally, when we start it up, we have some kind of calculator to see the volume, and then it's free up to you to add vendors, add stuff during the year. And then next year we do a checkup. What is your usage for the following year? So, but you could have it for 1 year or 2 year or 3 years, it's up to you, but that's how it is. And we also have one model where we have the database, we have almost everything on our cloud environment. Most of our customers, they have everything on premises, and we just help with installation and the support.
Any more questions? I think that's
there was one regarding the executable. Did you say that you can log all application exe files users running regardless if it's a licensed product or not? Yes. So when we are monitoring executables, it doesn't matter what's the license method is behind. We monitor the usage of the executable, but normally we prefer to use monitor a license manager if there are any available. But if there are not any available, we could monitor whatever. So Notepad is not licensed, but we could monitor that. Adobe is licensed, but Adobe don't give you any insight of who is using the software. So we could monitor that. So I think we are quite over the time. I think we have gone through all the questions. So thank you for your interest. And if you want to know anything more, or would like to have a more deep live demo, contact us or your Symmetry salespeople. Then we could set up a one-to-one meeting. And also we will be visiting our BIM summit in Oslo and in Stockholm. So if you're coming there, we also could have a live meeting. And this recording is this session is recorded, so everyone that has registered will have a link to see this at home. So thanks for the interest. I'm sorry that we did some more minutes than scheduled, but it's nice that you have questions.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.